All right. Hey, guys, what's up? You're listening to the MF CEO Project. I'm Andy. I'm your host, and I am the motherfucking CEO. Guys, today we have an awesome show for you, and I'm going to let Vaughn tell you all about it.
Yeah, guys, Andy gets questions all the time about, Andy, should I go to school? Should I go to college? Is it worth it to get an education? Well, in many cases, it's not. In some cases, it is. But there is one education that everybody wants, and that is an education in the school of greatness. And today we have insanely successful entrepreneur, podcaster, and the author of the New York Times best-selling book, School of Greatness, Lewis Howes. Lewis,
Welcome.
thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is an awesome setup.
Yeah. I feel like you're a visiting professor.
Yeah, right?
You're a visiting professor in the School of Greatness.
I'm the dean of the School
That's
of Greatness.
true. You would be the dean, yeah, or the founder of the school.
And I
maybe.
facilitate
Yeah.
the great professors who come to me, yes.
Yeah, that's great. So you should develop one of those. You know, Trump has Trump University.
Well, that thing's bombed, and it's like a
it's true.
scam, so yeah.
So maybe that wasn't
Maybe
such
not
a great
that,
idea.
yeah.
So,
But maybe something like that that's real.
yeah, that's legitimate. So
I'm excited because of the conversation. I mean, just, you know, the conversation we've been having for the last 30 minutes has been exciting.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to get some
We
of
should have
these-
put that up on the podcast.
I know, man. I know. Let's
well, I
just
was recording it. I'm
Thanks.
actually
I'll
gonna-
get
He wasn't
blamed for that.
recording.
Yeah.
we
Actually,
lost the audio
yeah.
for that one, too.
I was actually recording it on my iPhone, and I'm going to actually make it available to everybody for $19.95.
There
Well,
you
that's
go.
too low. I need to price it higher.
Post it on some Instagram pages.
You know, it's a guaranteed bestseller.
Yeah, that's true. The uncensored MF CEO.
Yeah.
How would that work?
Is that such a thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
right,
think
right.
so. But
So, guys, today we're going to make it all about Lewis, man. You just wrote this awesome book, The School of Greatness, #2 on New York Times bestseller. Huge accomplishment.
Thanks.
Congrats, man. That
Thank
is a
you.
big deal. I mean,
Thanks.
that's something that I aspire to, and I know a lot of people listening, you know, it's just one of those things that you dream about. You know what I
course.
mean? How's that
Yeah.
feel?
It feels amazing, man. But again, like we were talking about before, for 8 years, every week I would walk into a Barnes & Noble, and I
Yeah.
would visualize and have the experience of seeing my book on the front shelf right there in the front of Barnes & Noble and see New York Times on the cover. So
Right.
I experienced it over and over and visualized it. You know, in sports, I used to watch game film all the time. I don't know if did you play football ever?
Yeah.
We used to watch game film, especially in college football. We'd watch it all the time. And I would visualize, I would also watch game film of like Jerry Rice and the best receivers.
Right.
And experience myself as them and try to be like them when I go out to practice the next day. So I just felt like I was running game film in my mind every single week when I'd go and experience this. And then I said, what do I need to do this week to set myself up to make this happen? And then I'd go out and execute. It's been an incredible experience. I mean, it feels really cool to say I'm a New York Times bestseller. I would have never thought, I almost flunked out of high school English.
There was a
And
time you would have never thought that.
There was a time where I
Right.
never thought that, where I was like, I can barely read and write. When I came here to St. Louis in 8th grade to go to Principia Middle School, they gave me like a standardized test to get in, right? And I had a 2nd grade reading level. So I couldn't really read. I was in tutor the whole time through middle school and high school. And, I almost didn't graduate because senior year I was just getting Fs in English. I couldn't even do the simplest things in English. And so I never had the security or the confidence in reading and writing and didn't think I was ever going to be able to do that. Then in college, we just wrote a lot more 5-page papers that I had to like figure out how to knock out. And I started to get pretty good at like these shorter, like little blog post type of content.
Right.
And just trained and trained and trained. And eventually, 15 years later, I guess you can create something.
So what you're saying is a lot of hard work eventually pays off.
Exactly. Yeah. If you do it consistently
Right.
for 15 years.
But getting serious, man, like the one thing I hear and we talked a little bit about this off the air, and I am a huge believer in it. And I think most people don't understand this concept. But what you said that I found really interesting was that you experienced it over and over and over again. And at some point during that time, you came to expect that result.
Yeah.
And so, let's talk a little bit about like hoping for a result versus expecting a result.
Yeah. I think hoping for a result's never going to happen.
Right.
But again, for me, I was, it's interesting. We were talking about this before, again, how kind of like the world opens up to you when you're very intentional about what you want and you put the work in to make it happen. And I again, I would go to Barnes & Noble every week, and I would see my book on the front shelf right there. And it was funny, about a year before my book came out, I just signed the deal. And my brother goes, oh, by the way, one of my good friend's wife is a buyer for Barnes & Noble. I was like, really? Can you make an intro? So we ended up having a lunch meeting, and I told her my dream. I was like, my dream is to be in the first week my book comes out, to be on the front shelf of Barnes & Noble. And she's like, we're going to make that dream come true. And I was just like, wow, just putting it out there and talking about it and talking about my vision and how like powerful my vision is and the work I'd done to get to this place. I enrolled her in my dream, and she was like, I'm going to help you make it happen.
Right.
And the stars kind of aligned. So again, I had to put in the work. It had to be a great product.
And a lot of people will look at that from the outside and say, oh, that's luck or that's coincidence. But when you have it happen enough, you learn to know that it's not.
Nah.
And we talk a lot on this show and I've talked a lot about it on Periscope about the power of visualization.
Absolutely.
And how important it is, to train, because a lot of people can't visualize. Like when you first, it's a skill you have to develop, A lot of people, you tell them, hey, go visualize this. Or like, Andy, I close my eyes and I see fucking black. Like, I don't see anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, you're not going to be this excellent visualizer from the first day.
Yes.
It's almost like it is a skill, for me at least. Maybe some people are.
It's definitely a skill.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it this way. You were telling me when I walked in here, I was like, this is an amazing place, your facility. And you go, yeah, but we're opening up a bigger place and we're consolidating. We're putting everyone together. And you were describing like in detail what the space was going to be, how big it is, what it's going to have. It's going to have an AstroTurf. It's going to have this. You're telling me already what it's going to look like, but it's not even created yet.
Right.
But you're designing it in your mind and then making it a reality. And if you're not able to design something in your mind first, then what are you able to? You're not going to create anything. You're going to create like a box.
Yeah,
or something.
nothing.
You know
Literally
what I mean?
nothing.
Yeah,
You're
so-
going to end up being the fish that swims with the stream your entire life.
Yeah. Right.
And you end up where you going to end up when you swim down the river. You end up in the bear's mouth.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Louis, what you just said reminded me of a great story I heard about Walt Disney, where he started construction on the first Disneyland, but he died before the first day that it opened. And somebody said to his brother, it's really a shame.
The first day it opened, it died?
No, I'm sorry.
Before
he died before it actually opened.
Gotcha.
And somebody said to his brother, it's just tragic. It's such a shame that he didn't live to see this. And his brother responded back, Walt saw it before anybody else did.
Right. That's
and
powerful.
It's just a great,
that just
it's a
gave me
great
chills.
story. Yeah, it's a great story. But it's to you guys' point.
That's it, man.
I think it's, people always ask me, and I know you get asked this all the time. I mean, we haven't even talked about this, but I guarantee you get the elevator talk, right? Dude, what's the one thing? What's the one thing? And I really honestly, truly believe that developing that power to visualize and the power to believe those visions as truth is got to be the number one skill that someone can have.
This is it. I mean, not to talk about my book right off the bat.
No,
but
let's fucking talk about it.
But this is the first principle. There's 8 principles of greatness from the School of Greatness podcast. I've interviewed all these people from all walks of life, from Olympic gold medalists to spiritual leaders to Tony Robbins to all these different people, media moguls, and they all have these 8 things in common that make them great. This is kind of what I discovered. The first chapter, the first principle is they have such a clear, powerful vision. And they're able to see what they want.
Yeah.
Shawn Johnson, Olympic gold medalist, didn't just become a gold medalist.
Right.
For 10 years, she saw that she wanted it and saw herself on the podium and doing the performance in the Olympics. And that's the same thing with you and your company. 20 years ago when you started, you saw the vision for what you eventually wanted to create. Bill Gates, all these guys, Steve Jobs, they have a clear, powerful vision. They're not just like, let's go tinker around and do something
and hope
fun.
something happens.
Yeah,
right.
They're like, no, here's what I want. Here's when I want it to happen by.
Right.
And here's how we're going to make it happen.
Right. And it sounds so basic, right? Because that's what our teachers told us.
Yes.
But it's the truth.
Yes.
And I know for sure you're on a different level, and I could sense it. I could feel it. And there's not many people on that level, because I meet a lot of people, and I'm not trying to sound condescending or anything, but I could tell what level they're on in regards to their understanding and belief in, let's call it the law of attraction or the universe or God or whatever people call it.
Right. Energy. Whatever.
I mean, there's a million names for it.
Yeah.
I'm to the point in my life where I'm so finely tuned at that I have to be really, really conscious about what I think about and focus on because it
'Cause you'll
manifests
create it.
instantly.
Negative and positive.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like instant.
Because I bet you're just like me, where I can be as negative with the best of them.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
can
yeah.
go into this negative cycle and be
Yeah.
mean and nasty, and that's why I practice these positive habits constantly, and I surround myself with
I'm the
people
same
who
way,
are
man.
loving and positive, so I don't get into this like I want to kill people like
Right.
mentality or
Right.
whatever, or like
Right.
get back at people. You
Right.
know, it's like that's why habits are so important. It's staying healthy. It's like we can
Yeah.
get off track so easily if we
Right.
don't have a trainer, a support group, something to keep us
And
grounded.
it becomes a
consistent.
negative spiral. We just talked about how I've gone through
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, Lewis, I was telling you a little bit about. So last night I got about an hour and a half of sleep because my wife
Yeah.
delivered our second child. But
You look awfully
Last
handsome
night,
for an
right?
hour.
well.
and a
Thank
half.
you.
I'm surprised you're here.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Well, I'm here,
Dude, he's
I'm here
he's-
because I'm
he-
pretty excited.
His
Where's
wife,
your baby?
His
Ed?
wife had a baby on Monday. He was here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a soldier, man.
So it didn't happen
I
last
tried.
night. The baby wasn't born last
No,
night.
no.
I was like, you
But
should
the
be
baby
at
got
the-
baby
but-
got really fussy last night. But
Got you.
as I was reading, your book, and I did the vision part just grabbed me a lot. And as I was reading it, a quote that popped into my mind that I had heard elsewhere was a guy named C.S. Lewis said that the mind is the organ of truth, but the imagination is the organ of meaning. I just one of the things I did to pass the time as we were waiting for my wife to go into labor was I took an IQ test. And I scored pretty well, and I was pretty happy with myself. Well, then I Googled it and found out that there is literally no correlation between someone's IQ and their level of success because people always think about the smarter you are, the more successful you'll be. But what I really resonate with what you were saying, that really the people that are successful, in a way, they have really amazing imaginations.
Yes.
They can connect with their meaning and their significance in life. And so I love that. Like, that was my favorite chapter, easily.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. And, high school and college was a challenge for me because I based my worth on my, great GPA results.
What we're taught to base it on.
Exactly, right? And so, like, I was always in the bottom 4 in high school. And I was like, I would just love to be, like, in the, the 50% range. Just give me, like, in the middle. But I was always in the bottom 4. And
It's funny, dude. I struggle hard, too.
Yeah. So every time I got my
Yeah.
grade card back, I was just like, I didn't even want to look at it because it was just, I knew it was going to be bad. And that's why I was so driven in sports, because I was like, here's one thing I can attach my identity to
Right.
and become great at and get some worth from, and get some acceptance and acknowledgement from, because I wasn't getting it anywhere else in my life. So I put all my focus into that. But I remember hearing the quote, I think it's by Roosevelt, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I remember hearing that in high school and thinking, wow, I have a chance then, because I don't think I'm going to be smart book-wise, like, class-wise in school, but I think I can understand people well, and I can learn that skill and have emotional wisdom and people wisdom.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is going to make me, much more abundant and wealthy of a person, human being, and successful when I'm emotionally smart.
Yeah.
Which,
And,
by the
Makes
way,
sense.
if you were listening close, is a skill.
Yes.
It's something you develop.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Every
They don't teach you in a
No,
school.
they don't. And some people have it naturally.
Yes.
Some people are naturally charismatic, naturally loving and caring and about anybody. Like my wife's like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She is like so
cares.
selfless, so caring, so over the top. To the point where like I feel like a piece of shit because I'm like, dude, like how do you do this?
Yeah.
But you can learn how to be more of those things. And it doesn't really take a lot, man. It takes
Right.
your ability to listen, really.
I think it takes ability to listen, but also the awareness of like figuring out what's important to you. And most people put their importance on making money only, or like their level of success and what's in it for them, as opposed to contribution and being generous. And I think you could appreciate this specifically from like your experience and your past as a pastor, is like you're all about giving and generosity and contribution. That's like the come from a lot of pastors, is like, how can I serve to the highest?
Right.
And I know you are doing that as well in your business, and your mission is to serve. But I think a lot of people in their early 20s, specifically men, are like driven by money and success,
Right.
and fame or acknowledgement, as opposed to how can I continue to give and contribute. And I think when we come from that space, like everything shifts fulfillment-wise internally, and people notice us differently and like really want to be around us when we come from that space. Like you want to be around your wife because she's
Right.
giving, and everyone
Right.
wants to be around her because
Right.
she's so supportive and giving,
Right.
you know?
Well, it's a paradox, right? So like
Right.
Tyler and I, we just recorded our Thursday Thunder, which airs today, which was the last Thursday. So this is Tuesday now. you guys listened to Thursday Thunder a few days ago, and we just talked about what you just said about how and we're going to relate this. I'm going to relate this to business because we talk about business a lot. You know, why so many people struggle in business is because they're so focused on what's in it for them.
Exactly.
And if you can understand that business is about what you can give and what problems you can solve and who you can help, now you're talking about real business.
You'll make more money than anyone if you can solve the biggest problems.
And
or solve
they
the
love you.
challenges. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And you feel fulfilled and you feel good about driving a nice car or living in a nice house or whatever it is you want to do with your money because you did it by helping people,
Right.
which in today's day and age of social media, instant reviews, Craigslist, Angie's List, TripAdvisor, all this shit that people can instantly feedback, it's really become the only way to become successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go out there and try to just make it about you, the word's going to get out pretty quick that, hey, this dude's in it for himself, and I don't really want to contribute to whatever it is he's doing.
Now more than ever, there's so much transparency in the world that
Yes.
you have to be a good human.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to suffer.
Right.
You can't just fake it and
No.
put power over people
There's
or
too
control
many.
people. Yeah.
That's right. There's too many eyeballs all the time. You can't.
And
fake
we were
it.
talking about this beforehand. We're like, we won't say names, but we're like, there's people in the social media world and Instagram who are doing things where like they're going to fade out quickly.
Right.
They might be making a quick buck and
Right.
making some good money now, but with the level of integrity that they're doing it, it's not going to pay off long
That's right.
term.
That's
So
right.
what pops into my head from reading your book that I think is really relevant to this is your statement. It's not just having this personal vision statement about what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's this personal vision statement of who you want to be. And I think that's the people that get it understand that goals flow out of character.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, it's all about our way of being, and it's something that I've learned over the years as well. I didn't really know this, and I wasn't really practicing this because I wanted to achieve certain things. I wanted to have certain things, but really it's about being. It's about be, do, have. It's not about once I have this, then I'll be this person. Once I have the car or the house, then I'll be happy. It's like, no, be happy. Do the things that make you even happier, that serve people, and you'll have everything you want.
That's so true.
Right.
There's so much. I call it being on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah.
Like when I was on the front side of the mountain and I'm looking up at the mountain of success, and not that I'm at the top by any means. I got a long way to go.
Sure.
But I just used the analogy, right? When I was starting, I thought differently. And now that I've had a little bit of success in my life, I look back and how true that is. Like I struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled until I figured out what you just said.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then
It took me years too, man. It was
dude,
like,
but then once I figured it out, it was like instant.
Yeah.
It was like,
and the challenge is, I was achieving all my dreams in sports and business. I'd sold a company for 7 figures. I was everything I wanted to achieve athletically. I pretty much achieved, but I was always unfulfilled when I did it. Like
Right.
10 minutes after, I was like, man, fuck this. I was mad. I was like angry that I achieved it. And I was like, I didn't understand why. And I also remember that I just used to be driven to prove people wrong as opposed to inspire or serve.
I still have that.
Yeah, I mean, you can have it a little bit, but I think you still need to be like, okay, I have a mission to create the best company and to
Right.
create the best product that's
Right.
going to make people healthier and happier.
Right.
You're
You
competitive.
learn how to direct those emotions.
You can still be competitive in
Right,
ways,
right,
but I
right.
think when you're doing it in spite of people or to make people wrong or to prove them wrong, it's going to feel good for a little bit.
Right.
And it's going to give you incredible energy and drive.
Right.
It gave me like the most incredible drive.
Right.
But then it was like the flame burned out and I was just empty inside. You know what I mean?
The,
Like
the
when you
problem
achieve it.
with that, and I know from, many, many times experience of, the problem with it is that once you accomplish that, like let's say, like dude, I used to make it my goal to just hammer the shit out of our competitors, and like
Right.
put them out of business.
Right.
And we've done that plenty of times.
Right.
And the minute they closed, it was like my fire went away.
Yeah,
And
then
so,
what? You're
right,
just like,
exactly.
okay.
So, and I know like people probably
I got to go beat someone else up now.
right.
It's
People
like,
probably hear that and they're like, "God, that's well, we're talking about real fucking life here."
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Right.
Like that's business.
Something
I wanna
you've
fucking
said
crush
before. Something you've said before, Andy, too, is that whole wanting to prove somebody wrong that works on a micro level, but
That's
it
right.
doesn't work on a macro.
No,
level.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
What Lewis said.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
temporary.
Yeah.
Let me give you a real world example because I know people are listening here and we're talking about concepts. Let me tell you how this clicked for me. our first 8 or 9 years in business, we owned retail supplements. So we worked at the counter. People would come in. My goal was always to sell them shit, right? During that time, we always struggled. I would get so angry because we never really got any growth. We never really grew. Business was kind of flatlined, and that was it. And I got so tired of it that I just stopped caring. I'm like, fuck, I don't care if I sell anything. And so what happened was when I flipped that switch, people would come in and I started telling them the honest to God's truth. Hey, you don't need this. This is what you should do. Hey, you don't need to do that. This is what you should do. Right. Even if it meant me selling less product. Okay. And what happened? People went out and they got fucking better results. And guess what happened?
Can't come buying more from you.
Our business grew.
And telling people about
right.
it. Yeah.
And so and I figured it out on accident, out of frustration. But now that I've experienced it, and then that was 10 years ago, and I've seen the growth we've had since then. Right. I'm sold 100%. That this life is all about caring about other people. It's all about what you can give, and the more you give, the more you're going to get. And there's not one person on earth that could convince me otherwise of that.
I believe that. I think it goes back to what you're saying, which is most people aren't clear on who they want to be, on what they want to stand on, the principles. And listen, I'm not perfect, and I have my vision and my principles that I stand on, but I slip up. I'm out of integrity. I think as long as we're human beings, we're going to be out of integrity at some point in our lives.
Absolutely.
And so we can't say to be like, I'm going to be perfect every single day. That's just too much pressure on ourselves. But I think it's being aware. You had Gary Vee in here recently, and he's all about awareness right now and talking about that. But it's true. It's like being aware of like, you know what, I'm not being my best today. So what am I grateful for today? What can I work on, and how can I be better tomorrow based on the principles that I said I want to live by? And so I think it's important for us to have a vision and have principles. And again, these are basic things that everyone should know and should learn. But if we don't have a vision, if we don't have a statement, a write down of what we want, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, a year, anything, then we have no clue where we're heading. So it's really important for us to constantly evaluate, what do I want to create in my life, my business, my relationships, my health, and how am I going to get there? And be very clear about it. Otherwise, we're just going to be a mess and unfulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who haven't read the book, and if you haven't, you should, you actually listed 4 or 5 of your vision principles.
Yes,
touch
I
on
don't
those?
even know what they are right now, to be honest. But I know they're in the book. But for me, it's really about coming from love. I think one of them was coming from love as often as I can, because I can be a guy that can get quickly angry or frustrated if I want to be. My trigger is defensiveness, because as a kid I grew up being bullied. I was sexually abused by a man that I didn't know. I was like 6'4" when I was like 10 years old. So I was just this ugly, gangly, goofy looking kid that just was dumb, that couldn't speak in class. I couldn't read and write. So I would always get defensive and try to like fight back. Anytime someone tried to like give me a jab, whether it be in sports or in life, I had to like puff my chest up and defend myself, to be like, no, you're not going to abuse me.
Right.
And so for me, it's always like come from a place of love in every situation. Even when if someone's trying to kill me, I'm not going to come from a place of love. I want to defend myself, but that's just never going to happen, or rarely, right? There's always situations that I feel like someone's attacking me that I can come from a loving, neutral place, as opposed to getting nasty in their face and coming back to them. I never feel good when I respond the way someone acts towards me in a negative way. So come from love for me is something I'm working on. Again, I'm never perfect. And I think another one for me is like always give my best. Always give my best. I don't want to go through life regretting not trying something, not going after something because I'm afraid of it. So I'm always going to give my best. And I think at the end of the day, if I give my best, I know that like, hey, that's all I could do is just show up and give my best. So those are a couple for me.
Yeah.
And when he says give your best, we're not talking about the whiny, I gave my best. I tried really hard.
No, I'm talking about leaving it on the field.
That's
like,
right. We're talking about
no
really
energy,
giving your best.
Heart and soul. Like
there's a
dead.
difference, because in society, it's become,
no, like, I tried.
I tried my hardest, has become like this whiny proclamation of like mediocrity. And I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. And you guys need to understand, who are listening, when he says, and this is a very successful man who has accomplished a lot at how old are you?
Just turned 33.
33 years old. Okay. He means leave it all on the field. When your best is your best. And you've got to train that voice in the back of your head that, it is come down. I don't like to use self-awareness because I feel like it's getting so fucking worn out.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is.
So many people are using that term now because Gary beats it out there.
Yeah,
and I love Gary.
Yeah.
But it's so, so many people just want to be like, oh yeah, self-awareness. And I'm like, dude, explain that to me. And they're like, well, my shirt's not wrinkled. I'm like, no, motherfucker, that's not what we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But it is self-awareness.
I'll give an example, and again, not to brag or something, but when I was 25, I think it was 2008, the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. There was a sport on. I was just got up my cast off. I was done playing arena football. I had to retire from an injury. So I was kind of depressed. I was sleeping on my sister's couch. I didn't know what I was going to do next in my life. And I was trying to figure out how to make money. I had no clue what I was doing. And I was watching the Olympics to get inspired. This is in summer of 2008. And I remember seeing this sport called team handball on late at night one time. And I was just so fascinated by this sport. And my dream was always to be in the Olympics as a kid. And I didn't know how I was going to make it, but I saw this sport and it was like, okay, that's a possibility. Like I could potentially make the USA national team in there, and then we could potentially make the Olympics. So in my mind, I was like, this is a dream of mine I've always had. If I don't at least go for it and see what's possible, I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life. And I need to make sure I live it all in the field to see what was possible so I don't regret this.
Right.
And I didn't have any money, and I moved to New York City a couple of years later. I was like, I'm going to have to make money, and I'm going to move to New York City to learn the sport because that's where the team was to practice. And I moved to a new city. I was the only American on the team. It was 16 different countries representing the team. It was people that were professional handball players from around the world. And in 9 months, they took me under their wing. I trained with them every week. I made the USA national team. We didn't qualify for the 2012 Olympics. And I continued training for the last 4 years. We didn't qualify for this Olympics 2016. And so I'm evaluating, do I want to spend another 4 years of my life training for something where the chances of us making it are basically none. It's
right.
Maybe 1% chance. If the Olympics were in the United States, I'd be an Olympian because we'd have an automatic qualifier. But they only take one country from North and South America. And just the way our federation is set up, we don't have the funds or the training. And these other countries have 10 years on us of training. So it's be really hard to qualify. And but I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I've given my best. I put the last 6 years of my life into building a business and playing on a USA national team at the same time, and sacrificing, having fun, going to parties, being with friends months at a time, to be in Spain, to be in Argentina, to train in subpar training standards, in dorm rooms, essentially living in the gym, because that's the type of money that the USA national team has. But I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I've given my best, and I gave it everything because that was a dream of mine. And most people would try for a week and be like, it's too hard.
Dude, you made the point I was just getting ready to say. I was going to say,
that's too much.
That is such a huge difference between people who are very successful and people who end up just kind of going with the flow. Is how long they're willing to invest before they say, I gave my best. 6 years on that.
7 years.
6 years. So it took me 10 years to make over 40 grand in our business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And people are always like, I get these emails a lot, man. Andy, I've been doing this for a year and I just don't. Well, I'm like, dude, a year ain't shit, bro.
Yeah, stick it out.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's such a defining characteristic amongst people who are successful is how long they're willing to endure till they say, dude, I gave it my best.
It's interesting. Do you watch The New Girl? It's a TV show called The New Girl.
I don't think I've seen it.
My wife and I watched the first
It's
series.
a really popular. It's a hilarious,
hilarious.
popular show on TV. I don't really watch TV, but I'll watch it every now and then because the guy Schmidt, who's one of the main characters, is the funniest guy on TV. He works out at the CrossFit gym that I used to work out at, and so I would train with him every now and then, and because I'm in the Hollywood, so all the actors are there, or whatever. And I remember having
you look Hollywood, dude.
Right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Lewis has got that Hollywood look.
I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I would train with him, and then one day we were having a smoothie. I'm still trying to get him on the podcast, but he's been pretty busy. His name is Max. And one day we were having a smoothie afterwards together, and I just he came and sat next to me for like 30 minutes, and we were chatting. And I go, dude, how long you been in this game in Hollywood, like trying to make it? Because I never heard about you before the New Girl, the show.
Right.
He goes, I've been out here busting my butt for 10 years before I got this gig. And he's like, I was like, did you ever think you wanted to quit? He goes, every freaking year, but then I would get like a little gig that would pay me just enough to get by the next couple months. And like, I'd get a little win and a little win. And it just kept me in the game for 10 years. And now he's like the biggest, star on TV, one of the biggest guys on TV right
That's
now,
so awesome.
making bank.
Definitely one of the most unique characters.
One of these unique characters.
TV.
And he's like, everything prepared me for this moment. It was all, I call it like, reps. You're just getting like practice reps for the real thing. And that's what I look at my life right now. Everything is a practice rep for like when Oprah calls, when whatever the president calls, when whatever. It's like a practice rep for all the news, all the interviews, for when like the big dogs show up or whatever. It's like,
well, you're doing it
I'm
big now,
ready.
bro.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like, it's a whole nother level when you're on TV all the time or all these other things. It's like, this is practice reps the way I look at it.
I see you hustle, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate
this
it.
This man's got grade A+ hustle.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
For real.
Lewis, let me take you back just for a second,
Sure.
because I know you talked about your struggle in school early on. You talked about the abuse and different things, and this is a topic that's not only addressed in your book. It's something that Andy hits a lot, and this is the whole issue of adversity. And I'm actually not exactly sure how I'm going to phrase my question, but basically, it's you look at this connection between adversity and success, and like adversity's absolutely 100% necessary. I heard a great quote the other day that said that the World War II was actually won during the Great Depression because it forged all of the character that would end up leading those men and women to basically fight off Hitler and win the war. But so Annie and I talked about this the other day, is that whether it's entrepreneurs or everyday Joes or even like Christians in America, we don't know what adversity really is. I mean, the average person. I guess my question to you is, talk a little bit about why you think that's so necessary for the forging of greatness, which it appears that's what you think.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, like, because we do have a lot of prosperity in America, I mean, there are obviously a lot of people who are struggling, but because we do have the prosperity, are we almost at a disadvantage from people in third world countries who are just forced to forge that character?
It's a great question. I'll try to answer in many different ways, but the first way is like a lot of entrepreneurs, I feel like the reason they don't have what it takes is because they haven't been through adversity in their early childhood, or they haven't been through it like as an athlete. That's why I feel like athletics and sports gave me the best advantage to be an entrepreneur, because every day in football you're wearing pads, especially in St. Louis. Man, it was miserable like in the summers here.
People surprised how hot it gets.
Oh my gosh, man, the 3-a-days in the summer, just that alone, it's like the closest thing to boot camp you can think of for a civilian probably. And just every day, the mental challenges you have to overcome from the coaches, your teammates, the game time situations, the pressures. I was facing that every day, every week for my whole life. So for me, I felt like I had the advantage because I've already trained my mind to overcome adversity. And all the people that I interview, the people that make it to the top in sports and business, they all have to overcome adversity. I think when you have a big dream, if you're just living like an average life and you're just walking through doing the average, you're not going to face much adversity. But if you have a big dream, the challenges are going to come your way. You don't have to look for challenges. You don't have to say, I need to find adversity so I can overcome it or something. It's going to happen. When you went from a superstore, nutrition store, to saying, I'm going to open a warehouse and then become like one of the biggest supplement companies in the world, it's going to happen because you don't know the things you need to know yet to get that big.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way.
That's a great
awesome way to think about
it.
it.
The bigger the dream, the bigger the adversity that's coming your way. That's why there's always going to be new adversity the more we grow.
Right.
And so when the great leaders embrace it, Steve Jobs, when he decided to take back Apple and create the iPhone, it was like a new product that he had never done. There was adversity, and it's just constantly evolving. Every athlete, once you reach the top, it's like, I got to stay at the top. There's new adversity coming your way constantly, new pressures. So the greatest individuals know that adversity is coming, and they know how to embrace it as opposed to shy away from it.
I think I think too. I think they look at it as just like you and I both come from an athlete background, and I think because of that, I personally, and you could tell me if you agree or disagree, but I personally look at that as I welcome it. I look at it like, hey, no different than, hey, I'm in the weight room and I got to train.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that the more adversity that I deal with and overcome, that makes me better than the next guy.
Yeah.
And so
the only way you're going to get better is through pain.
Right.
The only way Arnold got bigger was through tearing the muscle
Right.
and dealing with adversity.
And life is the same way.
It's the same way.
But so many people will take that adversity and go cry and pout, and they think it's only them, or like I said on a Thursday Thunder, the world hates me. The world doesn't fucking hate you. It doesn't love you either. The world just is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's you. And I mean, dude.
Well, here's the thing. I think you can choose for the world to hate you if that's your belief. Then
Exactly.
the world does hate
Exactly.
you. Or you can say, you know what, the world loves me, and every day come from the world loves me, and the world will show up with love.
Right.
So it's neutral, and you choose what it is.
What to see. Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I dig that. I think that the whole adversity concept is
I
people
think
want to skip it.
I think we need to start welcoming it more and more
Yes.
and say, listen, like I'm going through challenges right now in my business. I'm growing. I've got 10 people on my team right now. I've always been like a guy with 1 or 2 assistants or people on my team, kind of like a smaller solo entrepreneur. But now I'm like, wow, things are building and I want to grow and I have a bigger vision. And I've never handled that many people. So for me, it's like I've got to learn a whole new skill about how to handle 10 people and logistics. And with me traveling 4 days a week.
And it doesn't sound hard, but it's hard.
It's challenging.
Managing people is very hard.
And when you're paying money every, a premium price for employees every single day, how do you know what they're doing if they're producing and you're like, oh, the money's coming out, but where's it going? It's like you've got to learn a whole new skill of adversity that comes your way and still be on top of your game when you do interviews or when you're creating the product or whatever you're doing. I still got to be on my game and ready for what I'm doing in life.
Yeah.
So it's just, you got to welcome the challenge. And for me, I'm like more reinvesting in so many things. And I'm like, I've never done this huge conference that I'm going to put on at the end of the year, but I have a vision to make an annual event to bring the podcast to life. And it's like, okay, I got to learn new things and there's going to be adversity and challenges, but it's going to make me a better human in the process.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
So would you guys go so far as to say, I mean, like if I literally said it like this, it's not just that pain and struggle are a normal part of the pursuit of greatness. It's that pain and struggle actually produce the greatness.
I think so. I think pain, you don't have to suffer, but I think you need to experience pain. And that's why in my book, I talk about the power of experiencing pain every day to build the threshold. And what I mean by that is like you can simply just do a workout every day and you'll experience pain if you push yourself hard enough. I think the more you train your body and your mind to experience that amount of pain, it's not going to be painful when you face the adversity. But I think that's something that's a necessary thing you need to produce great results. I mean, think about it. Any great athlete, do you think they all just walked on and had athleticism and they were 22-year-old phenoms, or they trained for years and years of pain to get there?
Well, that's the problem with society in general, is what we get presented to us. The glorified story is the story of, Kobe Bryant signs right out of high school because he's a freak.
Right.
But what they don't tell you is that Kobe Bryant's been hustling since he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And he's the hardest worker on earth.
Hardest worker.
You
I mean, I was at the gym today with Sean Stevenson, your mutual friend.
Yeah.
And we got there, I don't know, at 8 o'clock. And right when we get in there, there's a basketball court. So me and him decided to like warm up and play basketball. There was a guy there with a tank top and just his headphones, literally shooting like a 5-foot shot, set shot, just practicing over and over and going around the rim, shooting this shot like 5 feet away. He looked like a jacked like stud, like some St. Louis like SLU college player. That I was like, that guy is like a stud looking. But he was just doing the most boring shot over and over when we were there just playing basketball. Then we went up to the gym and he was still doing this shot, the same shot over and over. Then I went into the shower. He's still doing it. Then I left. I'm dressed and showered and coming here. He's still doing the same shot for an hour and a half. And I'm like, this guy is dedicated. He's doing stuff that maybe it's not painful, but it's like, it's not fun.
It's monotonous.
Dude,
It's
here's the greatest parallel to that though, is that, and this is, I use this all the time, and if my guys are going to be listening to this podcast because I know they do, but that's what wins fucking games.
That's it, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I was like, at the end
And
of the
that's
game,
what
the championship, he's going
That's
to
what
score.
wins life.
Yes.
Is doing the fundamentals perfectly,
Over and over.
consistently,
That's
ever.
it.
Like, dude, and I teach my guys that all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, look, this is not about fucking three throws. It's not about 360 reverse dunks. It's about
Three-pointers, yeah.
fucking layups.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Over and
saying?
over.
That's right. If you never miss a layup in life, you'll win.
He'll win big.
And that's, dude,
You don't need grand slams.
no. And that's right. You know, that's the thing. And you know, it just doesn't get any simpler than that.
Yeah.
And you know, getting the fundamentals down and getting them, and it doesn't matter, whatever you're doing, whether it be working at a Fortune 500 company, a CEO of that company, or you're making French fries at McDonald's. It
Right.
doesn't matter. You could practice this habit that we're talking about
Right.
at whatever you're at. It's a habit of perfection of the little things. And if you're at McDonald's and you're cooking French fries right now, you know, it's not the most glorious thing in the world. But dude, everybody in this room has done shit jobs that they didn't want to do. And developing a habit of making those French fries perfect every single time is going to be carried with you to the next thing. And then the next thing, and then the next thing. And eventually you'll be teaching that habit. You know what I mean? And it's that simple.
Yeah, you started off, you said 20 years you've been doing this, right,
Yes.
Andy? And you started off just with a store for 10 years, making 40 grand a year or whatever,
Right.
doing the same things over and over. You didn't start off with the warehouse and however much money you're making now and
No.
just like, oh, let's start a warehouse and do this thing. It's
Right.
like you built the foundation and the habits
And
over
really,
and over.
the truth of it is, a lot of people here, you know, we've been doing it for 17 years, and they're like, fuck, that's a long time. But remember, the first 10, I totally fucked off.
Right.
So until I got my head out of my ass, that was really only the last 7 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's pretty fast then in 7 years.
Right, exactly. So like, let's take the first 10 years where all I cared about was making enough money to get drunk and go out and chase chicks.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And then let's say when I got serious. And when I got serious, shit happened. You know what I mean? But I got serious about making sure that every single person I interacted with, not in my store, everywhere, walked away saying, damn, dude,
Man.
I like that guy. I want to be friends with that guy. I want to shop with that guy. I want to do business with that guy.
Yeah, I've got a.
It's a 24/7 thing.
I did a speech a while ago, and I have the whole thing on my my screensaver right now because I haven't taken it off. It's called the 7 Daily Lessons for Having It All, and I gave it for a bunch of entrepreneurs who are making 7-8 figures a year in their business, and they're having it all in their business, but they don't have it all in the rest of their life.
Right.
And I took the lessons from the School of Greatness book and I put it into kind of these other lessons. And one of the things that all these great people do is they make sure to make someone else's day every single day. And that's just what you talked about. It's like, don't just make your customers' days, but make everyone's day every single day.
Right.
And that's free. It doesn't cost you money. You can smile. You can hug someone. You can say hi. You can give them a high five. You know, be kind.
Yeah, and exactly. And I would tell people this, okay, because people here's the rebuttal to that. People will say, because people have a rebuttal to everything.
Right, of
We're all on
course.
the internet and we know this. Of
course.
Right?
Right.
Especially online. They'll say, Andy, but aren't you're telling me to manipulate people for your own good. No, I'm not. Because when you first start doing this, it'll feel that way because it's not natural for you to do. And what'll happen is you'll get so much pleasure out of doing it that it becomes a habit of who you are.
I get so much stuff for free, so many upgrades just for walking up and smiling and be like, how was your day?
Right.
And like just being joyful.
And saying thank you.
Yes.
You know,
be courteous.
Dude, how
It's simple.
Yeah.
You guys would not believe, and I've experienced the same thing, especially at hotels,
Oh my
how
gosh.
far saying thank you to people gets you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
Lewis, I have to tell you that one of the things I noticed about your book was it's funny how some people, when they write a book, they'll name drop, I happen to know this famous person. Your book was exactly the opposite. The way that I felt like you talked about other people, you were like, look how awesome this person is. Not that I know them, but that look at the lesson of their life and what they have to share. And I was really impacted by not just what you said, but how you said it and the way that you illustrated it in other people's lives. But I want to put, because I know this isn't just a motivation podcast. This is a entrepreneur podcast, and I'm curious, Andy. This
I want to say something about what you just said.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So, and keep what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Because I'll answer that. But that's where you really tell the cream of the crop from the fakers, to me.
Right.
Because so many people out there right now value their social, quote unquote, social leverage so much that they want to take other people's information and not steal it, but they want to like use it to leverage themselves to prop themselves up, as opposed to saying, wow, look at this person and look what they've done. And this is a great story and a great example, because they don't want to like lend that credibility 100% because they're afraid if they do, then their people are going to go follow that person or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And doing it the way that he's done it is the selfless, real way of doing it. So I hope when you guys read the book, you pick up on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a
Absolutely.
lot of people won't fucking do that.
Yeah.
They won't put their name behind somebody in that sort of way that you're describing.
Because they're like living in a scarcity mindset.
Right,
Like they want all the
it's
attention.
insecurity.
And here's the thing that I've learned over the years. You know, I wasn't always this way, but I started to learn that there's so much abundance for all of us.
Right.
Like I can have someone on my podcast and promote who does the exact same business, same courses,
it's only
same
going to
everything.
help you.
It's not going to take away from like me. And there's other people I see in the space that are like, they're scared. They're scared to like promote people or whatever it may be, or talk about them because they don't want their audience to leave them or something.
Right.
I'm like, I've done over
seen that a
300.
lot.
Yeah, I've done over
Yeah.
300 something episodes with people, and my audience grows.
Right.
It's not like, and yeah, people tell me, thank you for introducing me to this person. I bought their book, and I love their stuff now. Awesome, you should. Like, I want you to find the right information because I don't know it all.
Right.
These are experts. That's why I'm bringing them on.
Right.
But hopefully, you'll keep trusting me to come back for more.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Tremendous value in that.
Yeah.
And it's genuine value.
Yeah, and you're the same thing. You don't sell just your product.
Yeah.
Right? You sell other people's product.
Right, yeah.
You have other stores, right?
Right,
I don't know if you talk about it
yeah,
on here.
no,
but
we sell. A lot of people don't realize that, but we actually distribute third-party products all over the country.
all over the place,
Right.
all your stores.
We're vertically integrated, so anything that
And
we
I-
do,
And I asked you, I was like, oh, that's great. You own the retail store, so you just put all your products in the front of the store. And you're like, no, actually, we do the opposite.
Yeah.
We want people to choose the best product. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's amazing
Yeah.
that you have that, as opposed to, let's just make this all about our product and sell. If we can make more, off the top from our product than
Right.
other products.
Right.
Obviously, you're going to make more of a cut.
Right.
But you're like, no, that's like the opposite. We want to make people choose. And
well,
we
we're playing
wanna-
long game. We want people to come
Yeah.
back.
And you're like, we want to make sure that our product continues to get better, so people just have to buy it.
Right.
We don't need a front store placement it
That's right.
and like trick people or
Right.
just shove it down their
No.
throats. And again, you're living in a
We're the
world
only
of abundance.
product out there. We're the only supplement product out there that fully guarantees everything that we sell 110%. So if you were like a scammer, you could actually like make money buying our products.
Wow.
You know what I mean? We have a
Right,
less
right,
than 1% return. So,
Great.
Right.
You do a lot of sales. I know
yeah,
that.
which is less than national average of 4% on retail. So
Well, while we're on the subject of promoting things that we believe in, we do want to tell people.
you gonna talk about me again?
Yes, I was actually no. We're going to talk, guys. If you haven't checked out Lewis's website, it's lewishowe.com. LEWISHOWE.com, and the book is School of Greatness. And then, of course, you got a couple other ones, LinkedIn networking.
Yeah,
and
I've got
some
a
other ones
LinkedIn
that
book
you-
and a webinar book.
Yeah.
Those are more smaller
Yeah.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely check them out. Check out the podcast, which
Yeah.
is also called the School of Greatness,
That's
right?
it. Yep.
So here's what the question I was gonna direct to Andy. A lot of times, because I handle this aspect of the MFCO, we'll get emails and we'll get somebody trying to be on the podcast, and they'll say something like they almost invariably lead with, "We have this huge social media following" or whatever. And I don't think what people have kind of learned about Andy yet is that you really, when all's said and done, you really don't care about
Right.
someone's social media following. You have them. You have people on the show because they
Vaughn.
have a good story.
I don't give a fuck.
Yes,
what you're
exactly.
supposed to say.
Exactly. That's true.
Does Vaughn ever swear or no?
We try to get him to. That's the whole
No.
joke.
You do?
He has
I mean,
before.
when I met, let's put it.
He has before, but he
Would
gets like,
God be okay with that?
Well, there is a cuss word in the Bible.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
What is
there
that?
is. It's in Philippians chapter 4. It's
Which verse?
4:12, I believe, where Philippians says, or St. Paul says, "I consider everything scubala compared to the surpassing value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, for whose sake I've counted everything a loss."
And what does scubala mean?
Scubala means it's basically the slang term for bull caca.
He won't even say it.
He
good.
will.
Stay in
He's-
integrity. I
Dude,
love it.
I got him on Snapchat one day rapping Easy E. And I caught him saying a cuss word, and he's like, "Can't post that! Can't post that!"
Yeah, it's all good.
But no, it's a good.
He's
it's
setting
a
the
good
example
dynamic.
for his
It's a
kids. It's
dynamic,
great.
yeah, exactly,
I try to swear less, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I find myself doing it too much, and I'm just like, I
You
could
know
say
what,
a word
dude,
without it.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like, this is almost gonna sound egotistical, but it is what it is. Like, since we started the podcast, I see people overusing the F word now,
Yeah.
and it's starting to get on my nerves.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm like,
Yeah.
is it really necessary?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, your ratio in 1 and 4 is very reasonable.
Well, here's the thing.
You know?
All of your 15-second videos on Instagram have fucking, you better step
know.
up.
I know.
And that's like
I
the
know.
2 times in the
Right,
whole hour
right,
you
but
say
here's
it.
the difference.
So.
Here's the difference.
But see, it's an art form, though. But like,
course.
dude,
And it's who you
look,
are.
Look.
Right.
Cursing the proper way is an art form. It
Not
really
just
is.
using it in a sentence
That's right.
to use it.
People that
Yeah.
put it in the wrong place or say it the wrong way or use it in the wrong order, it annoys me.
Right.
So, like, if you're going to curse, at least do it right.
Right.
And perfect your art.
But
I've got to perfect it.
Here's something else.
All
and
right?
this is totally off on a tangent of curse words, but I was told the other day, one of the guys that
Like, dude, here's one thing that I really can't stand,
yeah.
dude.
That's all right.
Dude, if you put it, like I would never wear a shirt that said the word fuck on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, right. And so here's my point. So I was working with another client, and they were telling me about this person that I mentioned. She's fairly well known in St. Louis, and he went out with her and a couple of other people who are like really upstanding members of society, and they were at the restaurant, and this woman was just like dropping F-bombs left and right. And so this guy said to me, and this is in front of a guy and his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy said to me, so is Andy like that? I said, not even remotely. He has social acuity. What do you call it?
Right.
Social
Yeah.
acuity. Like, you know.
Social awareness,
when-
yeah.
Right, social awareness. You know when you're supposed to
Dude,
do
I
that
give
when you're
clean
not.
speeches.
Right, you
Like,
give
I
clean speeches.
I go to high school
He's
and I
not
don't
gonna-
like drop
yeah.
F-bombs.
But that kind of thing, that's what annoys me is when people don't understand their environment.
Etiquette.
And they don't understand etiquette.
Yes.
So, but anyway,
I'm just being me on the
Yeah,
show,
absolutely.
and that is how I speak.
Right, it
But
is.
It's your house. You can do what you want.
And well, the thing is like that's how we are around here.
Right,
so
right.
it's just how I am.
It's,
Yeah, of
it's,
course.
but
yeah,
but when you're overdoing it, like, or you don't know how to do it, just don't do it.
right,
Right.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or if you're doing it to try to prove something.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
you know, like, yeah.
We're gonna change the name to like the mother fudging CEO.
I think that'd be great. So anyway, here was the point
You
that I was
would
gonna
think it
make.
was great.
What
Yeah,
was
I
the
know, I
question
know, I
we
know.
were asking?
No, so here's the point that I was going
What's
to
your
make.
favorite
is
curse
that- Yeah. So I have, like I said, I've always told people Andy does not pick our guests based on their social media. He picks them based on the value that they provide. In fact, we've got a couple people on who literally have no social media following in the past. So what I wanted to ask you, Andy, is obviously this is also for entrepreneurs. What do you think, if you had to isolate it down to one thing, what do you think is Lewis's greatest value? What does he provide for our entrepreneurial audience?
Let me videotape this to see. let me get this on my vlog now.
Well, I mean, let's be real. Lewis is a pretty handsome guy.
He is. He
So,
is. He is.
um,
I got to be honest with you. I don't know if anybody has ever told you this. I don't know why, but when I first saw you, I was like, that dude kind of looks like Tim Tebow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Did you think
I've
so?
never gotten
I mean,
Tim Tebow.
Tim's a lot bigger. You know, he's a
He's
little
jacked.
bit more
I
jacked.
get
but-
Michael Phelps a lot.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
And I get
yeah.
Eli Manning every now and
Yeah.
then, but
Yeah.
I'm like, those guys are
Yeah.
both kind of like.
I'd have to
goofy
see you in a
looking. I'm like,
Speedo for to
You're
really
better
know
looking
about
than
that.
both those guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always like. I feel like it's
Yeah.
kind of a. I don't know.
It's just
a
because you're
dig.
tall, dude.
Yeah.
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 But, you know, first of all, what I like about Lewis is that he brings a balance to an even keel, and this is what we talked about before we got on the air, an even keel presentation of the message. You know what I mean? And normally I would argue, and you guys have heard me say this, that you need to be on an edge, or you need to be, there needs to be something about you that's different. You know what I
Stands
mean?
out.
And at first glance, when you look at Lewis, you know, you're clean cut dude, you're all American looking dude, and you're like, man, what's this dude about? When you hear him start talking, the principles that he talks about, and especially on the mentality aspect of it, I think that's where you could teach and bring and touch people on the biggest aspect. You know what I mean? You don't see Lewis posted pictures of his Lambo or
Right.
this or that. In fact, what is that thing you drive, man?
91 Cadillac.
That's pimping,
Eldorado.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I got it for $4,000.
dude, it's awesome. But the mentality that he believes in, that he talks about, that he's written about, and that he talks about consistently in his speeches, I believe is utmost crucial to being successful. You know, I think success starts in your brain 100% with your ability to visualize And it's ironic that you started your book that way, because I haven't actually got to read your whole book yet.
Right.
So that was people probably think that was planned, but it wasn't.
Right.
You know, and I just think the way that he helps people see the process of becoming successful without just like, I mean, dude, I get carried away sometimes. I just pick on myself. You know, I get carried away with assuming that people know shit. And so I'm like, oh, just fucking get to work. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm willing to work, but how do I start? You know, and I get angry and I yell and this and that. I just like the even keel simplistic way that he brings his message to people. And I think that if you're looking for something that, you know, you don't know where to go, or you don't know how to think, or you don't know where to start, if you want to learn how the process works, you need to buy the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you need to follow him on all platforms.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I mean, I love following you, man.
So-
He's one of my favorite follows.
Yeah.
Thanks,
so
man. I appreciate that.
The two adjectives I would say the book so far strikes me as it's thought provoking but accessible.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to achieve. But so we have gotten a lot of requests for this. It's not just that I want to like pimp our social media, but Lewis, what is your Instagram account? Is it just Lewis House?
It's Lewis House on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Only thing on Snapchat, it's Lewis_House.
Okay.
Because I opened up an account like 3 years ago and then deleted it, and I couldn't figure out my password. So
okay, and it's at Andy Frisella. Did you ever get your Snapchat changed?
No, it's still MFCEO-1.
Okay, and I'm
Gary.
I'm not that egotistical that I really want everybody to know mine, but I've had requests for me to spell my name. So at Vaughn Kohler, VAUGHNKOHLER.
There's nothing egotistical about people wanting to know who you are, man.
Well, I know.
If you don't promote you, nobody else is going to promote you.
That's true. I need to start
You
wearing
got to be
my-
your biggest fan.
You know what I need to start doing? I need to start I don't know, pimping up my public persona. So I need to start
You
wearing
get like a look.
Like yeah, I need some gold or bling or something.
I actually want to. I don't know if you're
Mr. T?
segueing for us to wrap up right now. If that's what you were doing
that's
with the
exactly
whole
what I was
social
doing.
media, but I wanted to say something before we do wrap up. If that's what we're doing, but I'm happy to talk longer.
No, we can.
I don't know what
yeah.
are we at, Tyler? We got like a hour?
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say is that you know, you have this persona online for people that maybe follow you or that are listening and that think one way, but like you really do care deeply about people. I mean, you didn't even know me, but you reached out to me. We were like texting and you were like, hey, how can I help with your book? And this is the first time we're meeting in person.
Right.
I tell people that all the time.
And you were just like, I want to help however I can. I'm going to buy, 500 copies or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
500.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy crap. Crap. There's friends of mine that I've had for years who wouldn't even like get me on their podcast or just like they were too busy or they wouldn't promote me or whatever.
Right.
And here's a guy that's just like cares deeply. He sees what people are doing, good work. He wants to support people. And you showed up in a huge way. And you did that for Gary. You did it for me.
I
and
do
you
have
got,
people I believe in.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's
But it speaks volumes, It's like says a lot
I
about who
appreciate
you
that.
are and like your level of caring. Where some people may just be like, oh, he's just a, swearing,
Right.
loudmouth CEO,
Right.
like just aggressive,
Right.
bearded, tattooed dude who doesn't
Right.
give a shit about anyone. But you really care, and I can like feel that when I look in your eyes. I really know you care a lot.
I appreciate that.
So I just want people to know that are listening. I'm sure everyone already does know that, but if you don't, he's a guy that cares about his team. The energy around here, the level of care is really powerful. And I think people wouldn't want to stay around in a company if you're a CEO or building anything. You got to make sure you care about the people around you and lift them up. Otherwise, they're going to leave you or it's going to be a negative environment. So you got to really put that.
Right. I think a lot of people that follow me too get the impression, like they imagine what I like that I run around screaming at my employees, and sometimes I fucking do. But let me tell you something: there isn't a person that works in this organization that I don't care deeply about, and if they're getting yelled at, it's because I want them to be better,
Right.
and they know that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not just yelling because I'm mad or yelling. It's most of my let's just be real. I don't have to work another day in my life right now. I could close these doors and never ever work again, and not even have to sell the company. Just close the company down. Okay, I'm fortunate enough to be in that position. My motivation in my company now is to get our company to a point where those guys who have bled and sacrificed and helped me get to my position can also get to a similar position.
Right.
And so when I yell at them and I say, hey, you're not you're not making the fucking layups. You're taking plays off. You're doing this. You're doing that. It's not out of a place of anger. It's out of love, like what you said.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's just how I express it. And you know what I'm a big believer in, and you know this, Vaughn, and Lewis, I'm sure you know this too, but I'm a big believer in fucking winning. Okay? And when you lose and you're losing, I'm not going to congratulate you for losing. And I'm not going to put my arm around you and say, when I know you can do better.
Right.
Now, if you don't know, that's different. If somebody doesn't know, I'll put my arm around you and say, all right, look, things aren't going your way. Here's what we're going to do to fix it.
Yeah, and I think that's good that you can shift, because some people, when coaches would scream at me in this aggressive nature, I would just like
Shut down.
And they would keep doing it, and they weren't able to shift.
Right.
It's like I needed them to be like, take me to the side and just be like, hey, listen, we need you to step up. Like,
Right.
let's do whatever it takes.
Right.
I'm here for you.
Right.
And
that's a management, like you're getting into management now.
you got to understand people,
Dude.
Right.
and what works.
It is
You can't just have them understand only you and the way you act. You've got to be able to understand all types of personalities.
100%, man.
And that's a skill you've got to learn
It's
over
a
time.
skill, and it takes consistent
Oh man, it's tough.
upkeep. It's like a garden.
And you have all 90% men working for you. It looks like a couple female people employees in here. I've got 90% women working on my team.
Yeah.
And I'll just let you know, it's a whole different like level of understanding and patience and like love. I can't like yell or be like, step your shit up, bitch. I can't say that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Dude, the funny thing is
That'd
the
be
girls that
hilarious.
work here
Right.
are the hardest core ones.
oh yeah, I'm
They
sure.
walk around talking shit to all the guys. That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I liked what you said about coming from a place of love. I think that's reality. And even though my message might come across edgy or harsh to some people, it's always coming from that place. And
Yeah.
I think if people don't understand, I mean, my guys listen, you guys listening right now understand me, and you know that.
Right.
And I appreciate you guys so much for understanding a crazy fucking dude like me. But,
Right.
some people, they'll look at a video or they look at something and they're like, dude, what the fuck? And they don't understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
I don't monetize anything that I do, by the way. I do this because I love seeing people successful, and I believe that my purpose in life, I feel like I've been given a gift. I feel like I've been given a gift to help people find something in themselves or show them something that they have in themselves that they can maybe see in me that can help them change. And I express that in a little bit different way than other people.
But the key with you, Lewis and Andy, is that when you say you come from a place of love, it's a proper understanding of love. We've talked about this all the time. Love is not unconditional coddling of people.
No.
That's not what love is.
Right. That's the
It
truth,
is holding
too,
people
dude.
to account. It is speaking the truth.
It's not enabling to them either.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
right.
enabling. It's empowering.
Who do
and
you love
sometimes-
more? Do you love the guy who is fucking up and wasting his life as your friend,
Right.
and he's becoming an alcoholic, and you say nothing to him, or do you love more the other guy doing the same thing, and you pull him aside and you say, "Hey, dude, you're fucking up."
Right.
All right.
Right.
You may not like it in the moment.
That's right.
You may be.
But that's
it may
love
be
at that
uncomfortable.
point. That's right.
Yeah.
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 Quick funny story I got to tell you about
Sure,
this.
sure.
So this is a really quick story. So this speaks a little bit of who Andy is, but early on in working with him, we had gotten to be friends, but we weren't. I mean, I didn't know him that well.
Vaughn's caught a lot of flack for working with me.
Yeah, well, that's not what I was going to share. But the point is that so 2 years ago, my dad died of cancer. But my dad I'm not a big car guy. Okay, my dream car is a 68 Ford Mustang. That's what I get someday.
a good-looking car.
Because that's what my grandfather drove. Anyway, but my dad was a huge car guy, and I knew that as he was on his way down, I thought he'd really be blessed by being able to ride in Andy's Lambo. So I said to him, I go, hey, dude, and I was really like sheepish about asking this because I was like, hey, do you think there's any chance that maybe my dad could take a ride in your Lambo? He's like, oh yeah. And so I said to him, well, I'd be happy to like maybe give you some money for that, or he gets this blank look on his face.
Give you some money to take a
and
ride.
I'm not going to cuss, but he looks and he goes, what the F kind of person do you think I am? He's like, I'm not going to effing charge you. You must have an effing low view of my character. So, so that was the funny part about it. And I got to brag on Andy, but the awesome part about it, and I tell people this, I said, if you only see him as just a guy that cusses, you don't get this. So when my dad went a lot quicker than we thought he was going to go.
Dude, it happened like 2 weeks after he asked me.
Oh man,
and
that
like
sucks.
we didn't get
I
to
get
do it.
this,
You didn't
yeah,
get to
and
do it?
I get
Oh,
this
man.
this
It was
very
man.
heartfelt text from him.
I
saying,
still
dude,
regret that.
He's saying, dude, I just feel terrible that never happened.
I
But
still
go-
feel terrible
I go,
about it.
well, no, you shouldn't, because when I told my dad, just even the thought of it, he was so jacked.
Excited,
I mean, he
yeah,
was
yeah.
Because
really
like he told,
excited,
because
so,
he asked
yeah.
me, and literally, like I was thinking, like, all right, in the next month or two, we'll get this done. Dude, he died 2 weeks later,
Ugh.
and like I didn't,
Yeah.
like
I mean, we nobody knew he was going to go that fast.
yeah, and
Nobody
like,
knew.
dude, I
But-
still feel like
You-
legitimately
no,
horrible
no,
about
no,
that.
no, you don't have to. But as a segue, I mean,
Right,
kind of
right.
to keep it heavy, okay?
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of awesome stuff.
Thank you.
All right. So when you're, on your deathbed, what really do you want to say? This is what I did.
It's a good question. I ask everyone.
That too heavy? Is that
No, man, I
Okay.
think
All right.
I want to. I want.
Because I want you to.
What I want
answer
people to
that
say
question,
about
too.
me.
Yeah.
I want them to say that Lewis was a symbol of what's possible for my life, and he always went after all of his dreams and showed me that it was okay for me to chase any dream that I had. And I want them to just say, wow, like he really showed up and he gave it all and he left it all on the field and he loved everyone. Like his heart grew bigger and bigger every year and he made people feel like they're the most important person in the world when he was with them. And I think that for me is the legacy that I'd love to leave behind. It's not how much money, I want to make a lot of money and achieve a lot of things as well. Like I think that's just going to happen, but I don't care if people say like, oh, it was great that he was an All-American athlete. Like that means nothing to me. I want them to know, I want them to have a feeling about me and to be a symbol for many, many years to come, for people to talk about what's possible in life. That's the thing what I want people to talk about.
Nice.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So you answer that.
Look, man, I'm not going to compete with Lewis. Look, guys, we can talk about that another day. Here's what I want to. Here's what I want to wrap it up because we're getting long here. And it would be easy to sit here and talk all day.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and dude, I'd love to have you back someday.
I would love to,
when
yeah.
you're back through St. Louis or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But guys, please check this man out. He's one of my favorite people to follow. Check out his book, support him, buy the book. And this isn't about hawking books either. This is a book that I guarantee you're going to read and you're going to feel better about reading it and you're going to get something out of it. And you guys know that I'm a big reader. I read a book a week. And I feel like even if you only get one thing out of a book, like one idea, it was worth the time.
Absolutely.
And I guarantee you this is going to be one of those books that you're going to get multiple points out of. So
And just to emphasize the difference between this book and most books is at the end of every chapter there's a number of exercises to help you get clear on what you want and how to get there.
Yeah.
So I think even if you just go to the end of the chapters and go through the exercises, it's going to be really
Help you get
helpful in
focused.
getting clarity. That's
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the
for
show.
having me,
brother.
bro.
Great, Lewis.
Appreciate
It
it,
means
man.
a lot, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
guys.
definitely.
All right, guys. Until next time, don't be a